Hello everyone, another video here on the channel. I ask those who aren't subscribed yet to please subscribe, leave a like if you enjoy the content, and feel free to use the comment section, everyone. It's always good for you to comment because often a story or experience you share here can end up helping someone else just as much or even more than the video I'm posting here. Today's topic will be about how the environment has destroyed or completely changed relationships. I always say that my channel is focused on analyzing the key stimuli and rewards that are introduced into the environment. I made a video talking about contradictory stimuli, and I'll make more videos discussing other stimuli that are introduced into the environment. I'll make one specifically about rewards, but today I want to talk specifically about the environment. What is this environment that I talk about? Stimuli and rewards introduced into the environment. The environment in this context of relationships in terms of socialization, anthropology, human relationships, dynamics, literature, etc. It's where we live, not necessarily in urban or geographic terms, but the moment in history that we are living in. So, for example, today it's undeniable that the smartphone is almost like a part of everyone's body. Everyone leaves the house with their smartphone. Some will look at it more, others less, obviously, but it's very rare to find someone who doesn't have one. Yeah, even those who don't have social media or don't use it much, in the end, human relationships are shaped by this. Because even if you're the kind of person who keeps your phone in your pocket and doesn't look at it much, when you go to a restaurant, you'll see people taking pictures of their food all the time. If you're sightseeing somewhere, you'll constantly see husbands taking pictures of their wives in different poses, women wanting to take photos all the time. And there are guys too who are super self-plugged, wanting to take pictures of everything, film everything. The older folks, the boomers, the uncles on WhatsApp all the time who used to be extremely active and anti-technology have now become unbearable people who open videos of everything, want to show everything, take pictures of everything, and so on. Cell phones, the internet, they have countless benefits, etc. Although I think the world was better when people use the internet a lot at home on their smartphones. There's still a lot to analyze about whether it's really that beneficial for society or not, but I'm not going to be a hypocrite because I use it a lot too. I look at it a lot, and I believe it's very important. Yes. So it's a study that's going to take a while longer, maybe another decade, maybe in the 2030s. We'll have a real sense then whether it was something that caused a lot of damage or if it helped a lot anyway. But when it comes to relationships, I think it's pretty obvious. You don't need any studies, just observation to see that it simply destroyed the dynamics, the involvement, the flirting, the courtship, and all that used to exist between men and women, not even talking about being romantic or being a simp or chasing after someone, just that more natural, equal thing. I've already talked in my video about the few relationships that actually work in society. So, for example, Miguel from Attitude Alpha, whom I always recommend to you guys. I think everyone knows him. Almost everyone who subscribes to my channel is also subscribed to Miguel from Attitude Alpha. If you're not, I recommend you do. Just type Attitude Alpha on YouTube. It's the first channel that will show up. A bald guy, people call him Saitama, with the blue symbol. He's made some videos saying that he's a bit black pill. Black pill, for those who don't know, is someone who has already absorbed everything about red pill and the reality of things, and is a bit more pessimistic about certain things. He pointed out, he made a very interesting video talking about some things that he views negatively, that he's a bit more negative. He says that there are exceptions and all that when it comes to relationships, but that he doesn't want to get involved anyway. He says that's the price you have to pay. I even wanted to make some comments here. In my view, I really agree with what he said. What is the price to pay for a relationship today? What has the environment done to make it so difficult to have a relationship today? There are some people who say, and I even mentioned this, I did a live with Leo Laser. I can leave the link here in a pinned comment later as well. These links I'm talking about from the Studio Alpha channel, from that live too, I'll leave them here later in a pinned comment, in which he asked me what made me create this channel on YouTube. I said it was friends who started to complain that it was getting harder to be with women at the level they used to be with average and unattractive women, thinking that because of cosmetic procedures and photo angles, effects, filters on Instagram, and so on, they think they're goddesses. And one of the things I mentioned was the issue with the environment. In fact, it has changed. Then people might say, women have always been like this, and now with Instagram, it's just a tool for them to show their true colors. That's not entirely untrue, but I think it's a very simplistic, very poor way to analyze the problem, to analyze the context. Because otherwise, you could just say, oh, every human being is a killer, every human being has a killer instinct, but how many actually act on that killer instinct? How many will kill in self-defense or in a moment of rage, in a fit of madness, in a breakdown? Very few. So to point out a human characteristic that's more dormant and say that and that it was just the tool that made this characteristic awaken, I think that's a very poor way to explain the problem. So if this seems black pill nihilist, this video, well, it's not my fault, okay? The reason is that in fact the environment has become unbearable for dating and marriage. Unbearable. This isn't my fault. It's not just my personal opinion or anything like that. If by any chance you're married, dating, and in a happy relationship, or you know couples, I know them too. I've already said that I know more happy couples than most people, right? I'm privileged in that regard to know people who are doing well in their marriages. Of course, there's still a minority, but compared to most people, I actually know more than average. I know a lot more unhappy couples than happy ones, but I do know a good number of happy couples. They're exceptions, okay? They're total exceptions because they survived this bombardment from social media, Instagram, and smartphones. And many were destroyed. Many, many, many. In England, there are already studies showing that 45% of marriages were destroyed because of Facebook. And here in Brazil, it's not much different. It's not either. The thing about the environment is this: why has it become so unbearable? Because the stimuli and rewards that are thrown into it are meant to make women feel super valued, with their egos sky high, and to make men want to be with as many women as possible, because they are constantly exposed to sexual stimuli all the time, bodies, etc. No. Instagram? Why has this environment become so unbearable? I don't think 100% of this was planned, even though operators from the underworld and the people who create algorithms are extremely intelligent. I think they ended up creating a monster more powerful than they could have imagined. I think the goal was more commercial than about social experiments. Obviously, social experiments exist in everything that's big. Technology corporations, even though some people think this is just a conspiracy theory, it's not. In fact, these people, these guys, these big tech companies are testing us all the time to see what we like, what we think. This is no news to anyone. I think the time has passed when people thought this was just a conspiracy theory. Nowadays, there are even documentaries where they themselves admit it. These employees say that they really do make fools out of people. So the environment has become unbearable to such an extent that even though it's unbearable, it's also irresistible. Because, for example, I always make the comparison that Instagram is for women, what pornography is for men, especially when high speed pornography emerged. It was something that drove men crazy. Seeing that many naked women's bodies at the same time and so on, it was something that made guys go wild. And there would be different side effects from that, from performance in bed to issues like laziness, irritability, procrastination, and so on. There are several effects that people who have this problem with pornography end up reporting. And I think every man has gone through this. So, Instagram, it's like this bomb, this big human sugar rush, too, as I've mentioned before. The extremes sometimes, which women have fully embraced, because it's very stimulating for women who were hardly ever noticed before. She, who maybe just one or two guys from the neighborhood or church thought was cute, suddenly gets 1,000 likes on a photo she posts in a bikini. For a woman, that's an absurd dose of validation and dopamine. The pleasure hormones that are released for her, it's really something impressive, truly impressive. And consequently, women start finding more excitement in that than in things like dating or going out for ice cream with their boyfriend and everything else, because she'll only find excitement in what's glamorized. I talked about this too in the video I made about fake simplicity on Instagram. Because women are so caught up in this mindset of showing off, of lust, of the perfect photo, the perfect life, the perfect restaurant. So to counterbalance this, then to show society that they're not really like that, they keep talking about simplicity even though that's not the case. But look, as I've already said here, for you to try to explain the problem, the reason why it's become so unbearable to date women and get into relationships, marriage, monogamy, and want to be romantic, affectionate, etc., why has it become so difficult, right? You have way more men getting discouraged about relationships, not wanting relationships, than women. Women, in fact, are complaining about the lack of outstanding men. It's different. I've already said that this can be explained by a pie chart with about 25 different slices, each slice being a cause of the problem. So, for example, cultural Marxism is a small part, feminism itself, its waves, is another, smartphones are another, character is another, it's the distortion of religion and Christian morals is another. So, you have countless factors. There's no point in trying to explain it with just one. And here I make videos explaining several of them, which I am identifying. And today I'm talking about the environment. So, the environment. For women, there's no point in always wanting to judge that women are no good for this or that reason. There's no point in saying that if one of the causes, of course, there's the issue of values, of character. There are always people, many people, who are truly malicious, without remorse, and so on. But one of the reasons is something more powerful than they are, which are people, even men from the underworld and so on, who work with this environmental key, setting up the right stimuli that will make them become these highly narcissistic people on Instagram. So you can't really say it's exactly the woman's fault. She's a victim of this, but at the same time, she doesn't make any effort to want to improve this, to see that it's actually harming her. The most she'll do is go on a sort of Lent, stay off Instagram for 40 days, or delete it for a week and then come back. And then she writes little posts saying that Instagram is destroying relationships, that everything is superficial nowadays, and so on. Meanwhile, when Friday or Saturday comes around, what she looks for most are superficial relationships. Not just with other men, but also with friends, parties, VIP boxes, and so on. So it's just incredibly hypocritical. Just like men have their own hypocrisies, women do too when it comes to Instagram. Putting on a show, it's really something impressive, but the environment is very powerful, okay? So what would be the overall takeaway here? It's the same takeaway that Miguel had. I agree with what he said, and I'll add a bit more of a Pavlovian analysis here. If you want to date someone these days, my friend, well, there are some things you just won't get. Like when it comes to negotiating, it's no use saying, I'm an alpha male, women respect me. Man, either you both agree before you start dating that neither of you will have Instagram, or you'll just end up being a foolish clown who keeps fighting with her, nagging her all the time. Oh, why did you like that photo? Oh, why did you post that photo? And it's no use, man. Even if you're a really outstanding guy and all that, the woman still has other guys around. Obviously, if you're a standout guy, you'll want to date a very beautiful woman. That very beautiful woman will have other guys in her sights. So if you're the guy she thinks is annoying or insecure, right? Women love to say that men are insecure. They don't know how to read the room. They don't know anything. Now it's all about stimulus and reward. They have to resort to that. Saying that the guy isn't, they resort to either attacking masculinity or attacking this issue of security, right? Women are like parrots, always saying that a man is insecure. And look, there's no point wasting your time trying to control what photo a woman is going to post. She's going to post whatever photo she wants, and there's nothing you can do about it. So since it's not worth arguing about something you're not going to win, just let the woman do what she wants. Actually, it's even good because you find out right away who you're dealing with and don't end up falling for that nonsense that the problem is you, that you're insecure or anything like that, right? Because that's just how it is. There's no real evidence for that in reality, is there? You can see that the men they really want, they don't date, and one of the reasons is because these guys know that dating is rotten, but they're not going to go around saying that because they have easy access to sex. So why would they go around talking about it? About women's flaws and contradictions. They talk about it among men and all that, but right? But it's for these guys the market is really good. Actually, for those who understand women, have at least decent genetics, aren't poor, are middle class or above, and are unattached, this scenario isn't so bad, you know? For those who have realized that this whole romantic love thing for men doesn't require any of that, that it's all brainwashing from the last 400 years or so, this is very well explained by several channels. So, it's not just my opinion. This whole love movement is pretty fraudulent because it's something that never had any real basis except for the last 300 or 400 years. So, like, there's no point in trying to fight against the environment no matter how alpha you are. The environment is more powerful than you. And the alphas, the actual super alphas in Brazil, who are part of the 1% I talk about here, they know this. That's why they're single, you know? Because they know there's no way to fight against the environment. Women will always want something more. These guys aren't going to want to post pictures with women acting sexy or anything like that, but they're also not going to fight with them. They simply don't get involved. So don't try to copy the alpha in seduction, in mannerisms, in social skills, that kind of thing. If there's a lesson to be learned from what these guys that women desire do, a good lesson, instead of trying to copy them in this coach or PUA mindset, whatever you want to call it, it's their detachment that you should take away, you know? Because these guys have understood the environment very well. A lot of guys from middle and even lower social circles are starting to understand this too, that it's not worth fighting against the environment. The few relationships that still work or both people in them either don't have Instagram, or if they do, it's from that older generation where the woman is really among about 5% of women. They use Instagram in a chill way and all that without this ego validation. I have some friends like that and so on. Some of them very happily married, by the way, others single, and also who ended up well for various reasons. They're still single, right? Which has nothing to do with this, but there are women who do know how to use Instagram, but like I said before, don't go looking for exceptions. Go take care of your own life, work on your personal development, make money, lower your body fat percentage, read books because that's all way more worthwhile, you know? So women end up being a consequence. And even that guy over there, I'll also leave the link to what life is about. There he talks about it from a more Christian, more conservative perspective about monogamy. Today it practically doesn't make any sense. He does acknowledge the exceptions just like I do. But even so, even the more conservative folks, don't be conservative. Those simps out there who keep liking the posts of Instagram babes, there are some consistent guys, yes, like Machado, at least I think that's his name. I'll leave the link here later about what life is. He has a really good video on this. So, guys, when it comes to the environment, that's how it is, okay? The environment is very powerful. Women will keep posting those photos even while dating you. So, there's no way you can win this argument, okay? She'll win on all fronts, whether it's annoying you or not stopping or even stopping for a while. In short, it's not worth it. So, just bow out of the game, okay? Unless you really see that, unless you get lucky in life and end up in an exceptional relationship, but don't count on it. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it just reinforces what Miguel said, okay? If you want to pay the price, just know this. You're going to have those arguments about photos, about trips, about women always wanting to take boomerangs, selfies, exposure. It's the price you pay. It's the price you pay for getting into a modern relationship. There's no way to escape this environment because we're all part of it, right? There's no use. Unless you live in the middle of nowhere with a girl. Then have that old fashioned life and all that. But I want to see the woman who would actually accept that living out in the woods in a little house with no Instagram. On Instagram, they love to say they live on a mountain, in a trailer, in a car, traveling. But in the real world, there always has to be some luxury involved. But anyway, right? But in real life, it's a little different, okay? So the environment is unbearable. The game is unplayable. If you want to get into a relationship, do whatever you want. I'm not giving any advice. For those who are noticing the rot, I do recommend stepping out of the game, at least for a while. If you don't have the skill or the natural ability to stay out of this game forever, then at least for a while, do what Davi from OK A Vida Fala always says to do. What he always says is observe people, okay? Watch people in the environment, and you'll see that dating really is unplayable, my friends. Things are really bad, seriously, really bad. That's why almost no one starts anymore a relationship these days. What you still see are relationships that have survived. But as for new relationships, you can see that most of the couples you know are old couples from 2015, 2016, and earlier. So that's something to think about, okay? Because trying to fight against this Instagram environment is practically impossible. Women are not going to give in on this. Negotiating is very difficult anyway. It's not worth wearing yourself out because you'll just end up hearing all this simping, these robotic android like behaviors from them, which is insecurity. My ex boyfriend wasn't like this and that influencer talk, you know? So, just something to reflect on because the environment is simply disgusting. A big hug to everyone. Just a quick correction here, guys. I said the name of the channel and its owner wrong earlier. It's not Machado, it's Duarte, okay? So, a channel that I think is really good is Duarte's from Life is a Chess Game. I ended up saying, what is life? Well, so, actually, there are two channels, okay? Duarte's channel is Life is a Chess Game. He has a really great video where he talks about monogamy, and in that more conservative Christian vein, his arguments are very good. He's a very intelligent, well studied guy. And Davi's channel is What is Life? So they're two different channels. Duarte's is Life is a Chess Game, and Davies is the What is Life channel, alright? I made that mistake, so I had to do a little edit at the end because it was a significant error in the video, okay? So I made the correction here. A big hug to everyone.